We're 6 weeks out from spring training, and the free agent market is still absolutely buzzing with activity. Tatsuya Imai broke the seal on deals for 2026, but honestly, that's just the beginning. There are still some massive names sitting out there unsigned, and the domino effect of one signing could literally reshape multiple rosters overnight. These aren't your typical late market guys either. We're talking about legitimate game changers who will define how the 2026 season plays out. Let's start with Kyle Tucker, because honestly, how is he still unsigned? The consensus #1 free agent of this entire offseason has been surprisingly quiet. The biggest splash we've seen was his visit to the Blue Jays' spring facility in Florida last month, and that's it. Sources are telling me Toronto is still the favorite here, and it makes sense when you think about their aggressive approach this winter. But you cannot sleep on the Mets. Steve Cohen has money to burn. They desperately need outfield help after moving Brandon Nimmo and Jeff McNeil, and when the Mets want someone, they usually get them. The Yankees are interesting here too, but from what I'm hearing, if they're going to make a massive splash, it's probably going to be for Cody Bellinger rather than Tucker. And then there's the Dodgers lurking in the background like they always do. Imagine Tucker joining a team that's already won back-to-back World Series titles. That's the kind of move that makes the rest of the league just shake their heads. Now Tucker rejected the qualifying offer from the Cubs, so whoever signs him is giving up draft picks. But let's be real, when you're talking about a player of Tucker's caliber, draft pick compensation doesn't really move the needle. If that long-term deal Tucker's camp is seeking doesn't materialize soon, don't be shocked if he pivots to a shorter-term contract with a higher annual value and opt-outs built in. That way, he can test the market again in a year or two when maybe the landscape looks different. Alex Bregman is another fascinating situation. His market has supposedly included half a dozen teams, but nobody's been willing to give him that long-term commitment he's looking for. The Blue Jays, Diamondbacks, Cubs, Red Sox, and Tigers have all been connected to him at various points. Detroit actually made a serious run at him last winter before he signed that 3-year deal with Boston worth $120 million, half of it deferred, which he opted out of after last season. The Tigers offered 6 years and $171.5 million last offseason, but I'm hearing they're not in that same neighborhood this winter. Right now, sources are telling me the Blue Jays and Diamondbacks might be the most aggressive teams pursuing Bregman, though you can't rule out a reunion with the Red Sox. It's wild to think about how much leverage Bregman had when he opted out, and yet here we are in January with him still looking for that perfect fit. Then there's Bo Bichette, and this one genuinely surprises me. After the Blue Jays made their World Series run, everyone assumed Bichette was coming back. That felt like the obvious move. But here we are, and he's still unsigned. The interesting development came last month when Bichette's camp let teams know he's willing to move to second base. That potentially opens up his market significantly. The Red Sox are believed to be interested since they have Trevor Story at short, but it might come down to whether Boston prefers Bichette or Bregman. What's really fascinating is how interconnected these dominoes are. Bichette's future might be directly tied to what happens with Bregman since both the Blue Jays and Red Sox are pursuing both players. Toronto is the only team that won't have to forfeit draft picks for Bichette, so they could bring him back, slide him to second where he played during the World Series, and move Andrés Giménez to shortstop. Of course, there are other options out there like trading for Ketel Marte or signing Eugenio Suárez. But Bichette and Bregman seem to be the premium choices for these AL East rivals. Cody Bellinger and the Yankees felt like destiny last season. The fit was perfect, he performed well, everything pointed to a reunion. Yet somehow, we're still waiting. The Yankees are apparently holding firm on their price, not wanting to bid against themselves, but most people around the league still think they'll find a way to make it work. If they don't, though, they could pivot to Jason Dominguez or their number 4 prospect Spencer Jones to fill that left field spot. The Mets keep popping up as a Bellinger destination, and after trading away Nimmo and McNeil, they clearly need outfield help. The two New York teams seem like the obvious landing spots, but don't sleep on the Angels, Blue Jays, or even the Dodgers bringing him back. The Angels especially intrigue me after they traded Taylor Ward and recently settled with Anthony Rendon, which should free up some payroll flexibility. If Bellinger wants to return to Southern California, Anaheim could be appealing. The difference this time around for Bellinger is there's no qualifying offer attached, and he's entering his age 30 season. He's probably going to wait as long as necessary to land that long-term deal that escaped him last time he hit free agency. On the pitching side, Framber Valdez is the name everyone's watching. The Orioles and Mets make the most sense because of the personnel connections. Mike Elias was Houston's scouting director when they signed Valdez back in 2015, and David Stearns was the Astros' assistant GM then. Baltimore has already added Shane Baz and brought back Zach Eflin, but they still need that true frontline starter. They also just handed Pete Alonso 5 years and $155 million, their biggest free agent contract in years, so whether they make another massive signing remains to be seen. The Mets need a rotation anchor after all their moves this winter. They've completely reshaped their roster, adding Marcus Semien, Jorge Polanco, Devin Williams, and Luke Weaver, while letting Alonso and Edwin Diaz walk. Valdez would be perfect, except Stearns historically avoids long-term deals for starting pitchers. That might push them toward trading for someone like Freddie Peralta instead. Finally, there's Dylan Suárez, who's also connected to the Mets and Orioles. The key difference is Suárez is 2 years younger than Valdez, making him potentially more valuable long-term. Both lefties have playoff experience, but Suárez's postseason dominance might separate him despite Valdez's reputation as an innings eater. The Braves, Cubs, and Angels are also in the pitching market with Suárez high on their lists. Both Valdez and Suárez rejected qualifying offers, meaning draft pick compensation for whoever signs them. We're in that critical window where one signing triggers everything else. The next few weeks will determine how the entire competitive landscape looks for 2026, and these 6 players hold all the cards.